You wake up as Elster, a replica android implanted with a human consciousness. You wake up on your scout ship, the Penrose 512, that appears to have crashed on an unknown planet. Judging from the state of the ship, it's unlikely it'll fly again. Your crew member and pilot Ariane Young seems to have left the ship before you, so you pick up the protective Ava suit and go outside. There is a heavy blizzard outside, and the entire planet is covered in snow. No signs of life can be seen, until you come across a peculiar-looking obelisk. A hole with stairs leading down. The hole's interior is painted blood red, and there's a human-sized hole at the bottom of it. With nowhere else to go, you crawl through the hole. And end up in what appears to be someone's room. It's unknown how it's possible for there to be a normal room in a hole on a planet that is constantly hailing. Even stranger is the fact that the hole you crawled through doesn't exist anymore, and the door in the room is locked from the outside. With nothing else to do, you pick up an ancient-looking tome lying on the table. It feels like it is calling to me. Rebooting yourself, you find that you are now at the Leng Orbital Re-Education and Mining Facility S-23 Sierpinski. A note you find on a chair says, "You've been selected, or have elected, to be relocated by Eon to S-23 Sierpinski. Located on Leng, at the frontier of the solar system, S-23 Sierpinski is the perfect place for a new beginning. At our prestigious vocational school facility, you will learn new skills to shape your future as a productive citizen of our wonderful nation. Here, you will learn all about mineral extraction, ore refinement, and munitions production, helping the war effort against the remnants of the Empire. And of course, learning is not just about theory. Eon lets you earn your share while practicing your new craft right at the workplace. Concerned about family, friends, former colleagues? Ask a protector about our ration sharing plan. A portion of your ration marks will be sent to a beneficiary of your choice." The facility seems very vacant for a facility supposed to be helping fight a war against the opposition. A note on the reception mentions them having a staff shortage. But only 2 rooms later, you find a hallway with 2 dead, infected-looking Eula model replicas. There seems to be more than just a staff shortage. You come across an injured star unit, who mentions the facility being lost and to leave immediately. Of course, that isn't an option. Showing her the picture of Ariane. Actually, the picture seems to have changed. Inspecting the picture closer, it is now a picture of a person called Alina Seo. The star unit says that all Gestalt human workers were sent to the mines, most likely due to whatever is happening to the facility. Grabbing a keycard to open an office room rewards you with your first weapon, the Type 75 Protector semi-automatic pistol. It sports a 10-round magazine and fires 10mm ammunition. Very reliable for taking down basic enemies. The manual next to it mentions it to be the standard issue sidearm for Eon Protector controller staff. Walking back to the hallway, the previously idle corpses let out an animal-like screech and start trying to attack you. This enemy being the infected Eula replica unit. The Eula unit is the standard enemy in the game. They are the most common multi-purpose, low-cost replicas intended for domestic tasks such as cooking, teaching, or office work. They wield a kitchen knife, most likely due to their background in cooking. They are slow, fragile, and generally deal low damage, making them pretty easy to deal with. Backtracking to one of the earlier rooms, you encounter the first Gestalt of the game, Isa Ito. A note behind her that she wrote mentions a person named Erica. It seems plausible to assume that's who she's looking for. I suppose you might meet her again, considering you're both looking for someone. After opening the safe in the classroom, you go deeper into the facility. Now out of the reception floor, you find significantly more bodies than before. The ceiling behind you is collapsed and the facility looks almost abandoned. Dirt, grime and blood is splattered on the floors and walls, and it's eerily quiet. Searching through the Gestalt workers' bunks, you find notes detailing early signs of whatever disaster happened in the facility. The protectors have been worried lately. They're hiding something. There's less of them. Russian plan keeps changing. Alina says I am imagining. At them, I can feel their fear, like it's my own. What are they scared of? You also find the first sign of Alina. A page from her diary. Feeling a little lightheaded today. I hope it's not that new flu that seems to be going around. I can't afford to miss any more shifts. That stork at the factory was chewing me out for what felt like hours for fainting at work the last time I got a cold. I haven't seen Elster the last few days. I hope she's okay. More and more people go missing in the mine lately, including replicas. Not even protectors seem to be safe. Based on this note, it's possible the disaster may involve some kind of disease. Finding the elevator, it seems that the star unit was right. You need an administrator's keycard to be able to operate the elevator. You have quite a ways down to go to reach the mines. After cracking open a locked door with an included picklocking device, you find the disposable stun prod. This is one of the most important tools in the game, and you will see why. An included manual next to them mentions them being supplied to the facility due to recent events. The stun prod goes into your tool slot instead of your weapon, meaning you can have a weapon equipped at the same time as the stun prod. The stun prod itself doesn't actually kill any enemies, but it instantly stuns almost any enemy, guaranteeing you a kill by stomping the target. On top of this, the electricity can scatter to multiple enemies, allowing you to kill even a whole group of enemies with just one stun prod. You should save these for the rooms with large groups of enemies. I promise you will be glad that you did. In the same room is a keycard to open the east wing door, and also documents showing the totalitarian control the facility employs on its workers. It wouldn't be a re-education facility without torture now, would it? In a room nearby, there is a suspicious looking box with a butterfly engraved on it, but I'll get to that later. Still in search of an administrator's keycard, you walk into what appears to be a kitchen. A EULA unit is cutting what looks to be flesh of unknown origin, and there appears to be some kind of living organism stuck to the wall. It's breathing? In the room next to the kitchen, you find the first higher tier enemy of the game, the replica unit Star. Star units are much more threatening than EULA units due to their increased health pool, increased range, and faster attacks. Star units are also much more mobile due to their combat-capable design. The Star unit is a low-cost combat-capable unit intended to be protected security technician guards. They wield a baton as their main weapon, and promoted officer Star units also have a riot shield. By now, you should have seen that even if you kill an enemy, their corpse can still come back to life. It's never a matter of if they will come back to life, but rather when. Because of this, you have to plan your routes carefully and choose if you want to use resources to kill an enemy that can revive themselves. Going south, you encounter the first Stork unit of the game, although this one is thankfully alive. You don't look like you belong here. You're an Elster unit, right? This facility is currently on lockdown. You shouldn't be here. I'm the Protector Controller on duty on this level. I don't know what kind of business you have here, but as you can probably see, we've got bigger issues right now. If you're looking for the commander, I have bad news for you. She got sick, and everyone else is getting sick too. That's really all I know about it. I'm sure the administrator knows more, but who knows where he is. I'm not going out there. I'm waiting here for new orders. Until then, I'm not taking any risks. In the same room, you also find the West Wing keycard that seems to belong to Alina Seo, the person you're searching for. After finding two shards of a key from different rooms, You put them together to make the butterfly key. Opening the butterfly box in the room from before reveals a mysterious artifact inside the box. After picking it up, you are transported to what appears to be a radio station, and inside is a note addressed to Radio Officer Young. The letter appears to be from Camilla Young. She is concerned about Ariana Young's lack of education that's resulted from her always being with her mother, Iris Young. The powerful governmental organization Eon has agreed with Camilla Young, and it seems that Ariana is going to be relocated to Rotfront's Sector C. On the disk is a REM-64 long-wave radio receiver module. The manual explains it to allow replica units to tune into any radio frequency between 50 to 250 kHz, and is only available to Generation 5 replica units. Luckily, the Elster unit is a Generation 5 replica. When installed, the radio module allows Elster to tune into any frequency between 50 to 250 kHz. The blast-proof door next to the living quarters of the station opens after tuning your radio to the frequency displayed on the door. Which afterward, Elster is hijacked out of the sequence, but the radio module is still somehow installed. Backtracking to a room near, where you found one of the key shards, shows a note that has multiple radio frequencies written on it, each labeled with some kind of word, one of those being tree. In the office room, there is a safe with the safe manufacturer's insignia present on it, which is a tree. After tuning your radio to the tree frequency displayed by the note, you can get the code required to open the safe. Inside the safe is the exact keycard you need to operate the elevator. This specific keycard belonging to the replica Star-S2320. Being able to finally use the elevator, you go down. Though of course, it doesn't go as you expect. And due to a power interruption, you end up only going down one level, down from floor 2 to floor 3, the new medical ward. On top of this, the elevator also impounded the card, leaving you with having to find another one. You are quickly introduced to the second main weapon of the game, the Ein-12 flechette shotgun. A semi-automatic shotgun that, as the name implies, shoots sharp nails, called flechettes. It's personally my favorite weapon in the game, due to its incredible stagger power, making it so that in most cases you only need 1 or 2 shells to take down an enemy. This floor also introduces the third basic enemy of the game, the replica model Aira. The Aira is a low-cost general-purpose replica model intended for tasks like repair, maintenance, and construction. The infected Airas crawl out of hidden passageways under the floor and immediately beeline towards you. They are one of the easiest enemies to deal with by themselves, but they are usually summoned in groups, making it dangerous and sometimes wasteful to try to take all of them down. Going to the east side of the facility, you find a room with a VCR player and the second tool item in the game, the auto-injector. Easily the best healing item in the game, although if you know what you're doing, then you won't really be needing them. mainly used as a last resort. When equipped, the auto-injector will prevent you from dying from the first fatal hit, and heal a major amount of health. It's best to save these for later. Like before, there are multiple locked doors that require keys, but I'll get to those later. The room also has another page from Alina Seo's diary. It reads, "Something is wrong. Nobody will tell me what's happening, but ever since I woke up, everyone has been behaving strangely. The protectors won't let me leave my room and return to work, even though the wound from my fall is already healed. I think there must have been an accident in the mine. I overheard two Yules whispering in front of my room that they're running out of staff. I'm worried that something has happened to Elster. I haven't heard from her in a while. I can't just sit around here any longer. Alina Seo." This already raises a lot of questions. In the previous letter, Alina also mentioned about not hearing from Elster. Almost like Elster was supposed to be at the facility, even though you woke up in the crashed Penrose 512 ship. Additionally, Alina Seo was also supposed to be the pilot of the ship, so how did she end up being a worker at the facility? There was also a document on the second floor detailing information about different Gestalt workers in the Sierpinski facility, but Alina Seo is the only one in the document that doesn't have a written reason explaining why she would even be at the facility. But leaving that for now, it seems that you're expected to find some kind of videotape, so you go forward. 2 rooms to the right, you find the first Yule unit of the game that isn't infected. Everyone's turned weird. I'm the only one left, I think. Will I get sick like the others too? I'm scared. I don't want to die. You look kind of familiar. Have we met before? At first it was only Commander Folke who fell ill. Slowly everyone started behaving strangely. I'm too scared to go outside. I don't want to become like the others. I don't want to die. It seems like the facility is almost entirely doomed, as the star at the beginning of the game implied, though what caused the illness is still unknown. A document in a nearby room explains the illness to progress similarly in both replica and Gestalt patients, indicating that the disease isn't exclusive to either one. Exploring the west side of the floor, you will first find yourself in an unnaturally organized and sterile room, even being one of the first rooms that actually gives a feeling of safety, almost like it's not supposed to be a part of the facility. The door in the room seems to require 5 different keys to open, so you continue forward. Proceeding west, you find yourself in a bathroom with a collapsed floor, but more importantly, the entire underground seems to be flooded. You take a keycard from a collapsed aero unit and open up the pump room. A note in the pump room explains the automatic equalizer pumps in the flood drainage system to be dysfunctional, and because of this, the lower level is flooded. Thankfully, the drainage system can be manually calibrated on the control panel next to you. After calibrating the system, you go to the lower level and find the first 2 keys needed for the door. The water key and the blank key, and also a key to the previously inaccessible examination room. At the end of the hallway, you can find a room with a video cassette, some ammo, and a back room with another keycard, although this one is stuck inside a vent. Leaving the vent for now, you go back to the VCR player and insert the tape. You are yet again transported to another vision, this time on a train with only one other person, a woman with white hair. According to the text on the walls, it seems you are in Rotfront. Walking closer to the girl, she quickly disappears, and in her place, you get the gold key. After picking it up, you are transported out of the vision and, yet again, you have the key in your inventory. I don't think it's hard to guess that the woman is supposed to be Ariane Young. If you remember what the note at the radio station said, she was relocated to Rotfront in accordance by the decision of Eon and Ariane's aunt, Camilla Young. Opening the examination room with the key you got from the lower level, you are rewarded with a 10mm socket for a wrench that was placed near the pump room, which finally allows you to open up the vent. The last key needed can be found in the morgue, which you get a key for from opening the sword safe. Though inside the safe is also the second module in the game, the eidetic module. To put it bluntly, it's the most useless module in the game. It allows you to take screenshots of whatever your character is seeing, but it can only hold up to 6 at once. It's even worse on the maximum difficulty, since in it, modules take inventory space, making it take up the spot of valuable ammunition or a weapon by itself. Opening the incineration room, as you might expect, has multiple body bags, but it also has the third tool item in the game, the thermite flare. The note under them mentions that the reason for the replicas being able to wake up after death is because a cancerous growth in their biological components is able to reactivate the replica at any moment. The answer to this was to start ordering the thermite flares, since they are able to melt through replica armor and destroy the growth, preventing the replica from waking up. Very powerful for completely eliminating the threat of higher leveled enemies, but not so worth it to use for easier enemies, such as the Eula units. The thermite flare can also be used similarly to the stun prod, to immediately kill and burn most enemies, or to melt already dead enemies on the ground. After stabilizing the incinerator, you open it and get the fire key. Now that you have all of the keys, you can open the door. Inside the room is various types of ammunition for your weapons, a save point and a hole that you can drop down. Dropping down the hole, you will find the first boss of the game, the replica Mina. As you might have expected, they are not exactly friendly. It seems that they have also succumbed to the illness, and such, start immediately attacking Elster. Simply shooting the Mina will not work, since their entire body is surrounded by a high-security armor-plated frame. Actually damaging the unit is only possible when they open up their visor and reveal their face, during which oxidant seeps through, seemingly because of their biological parts becoming more and more damaged by the illness. The Mina was not actually intended to be a combat-capable unit, but rather for work that would be too dangerous for standard replicas. A note you can find in the game hints that there being a combat version of the Mina, called the Schnapper, but they don't actually appear in the game. The only real difference between them is that the Schnapper variant is issued with a more combat-capable persona. The Mina uses a heavy mining laser as a weapon, which was originally intended for, well, as should be obvious, mining. The fight involves Elster dodging the mining laser shots and killing the corrupted Era replicas that the Mina calls for assistance. After defeating the Mina, the replica unit Adler, the administrator of the facility, comes to meet you. Adlers are mentally complex and intelligent replica units that are designed to manage and oversee all administrative tasks for the entire facility. Adler talks in a calm and professional manner, which is quite unnerving considering the situation. After showing him the picture of the Gestalt human Elster is searching for, Adler turns and pushes Elster into the broken elevator shaft and says, "You shouldn't have returned." What this phrase means is currently unknown, but there is definitely more to Adler. The screen flashes with staticky text that reads, "It is calling to me from below, the song of a god, that whispers to the sleeping. A dark sun setting over black ocean. A red eye in the sky, staring, unblinking, forever. And deep below the earth awaits answers to questions yet unasked. A dream about dreaming." After being pushed, you quickly awaken in another vision. This time as another person. Isa Ito, to be exact. You're in a classroom, and it's snowing outside. Isa mentions it to always be so. Judging from the environment, you're most likely on the planet Rotfront. After a bit of walking, Isa finds the same white-haired girl you have been seeing throughout the game. She's sitting in a classroom surrounded by 3 masked individuals who quickly begin assaulting her. After witnessing the event, you reawaken as Elster. It seems you're alive because the fall was cushioned by what appear to be Elster replica bodies. There are 2 rooms and 1 locked door on the floor where you fell to. The first room has an electrical box that seems to be connected to an engine meant to power paternoster lifts, though it seems to be missing a fuse. The second room has a key card, this specific one belonging to a replica unit ARA-2309. After opening the maintenance door with the key card, you can descend down ladders to the lower levels of the facility. Although all of them, except the 6th floor, are locked from the inside. The elevator on the 6th floor is completely filled with dead Elster replica units, even more so than the floor 5 elevator. Proceeding forward, You find the first promoted Officer Star replica unit. These enemies wield both a baton and a shield that can block most of your shots with ease. They are one of the higher tier enemies, very problematic, especially when placed in groups. They will slowly walk towards you with their shield held up, and they will swing when they get within your proximity. After taking care of the enemies, you might notice that there is a note on the table. It mentions a replica unit, most probable of being a star, being annoyed at the music the Eula units are listening to. But ignoring that for now, you might realize that some of the rooms on this floor are inaccessible due to being too dark. A note from an ERA unit explains that all doors in the facility require visible light to be able to open. The note also mentions that you need a flashlight module for the doors to be able to open, and to ask Adler for it on the 8th floor. Proceeding south, you find a hole that seems deep enough to drop to the 7th floor below. You drop down. You are yet again transported to another vision, this time in a bird's eye view. Isa Ito seems to be in a room with Adler. Adler explains himself to be the administrator of the facility, and that he only wants to help. Afterward, he walks closer to Isa Ito, and the screen cuts to a scrambled picture of someone named Erica. Isa actually mentioned a person named Erica in the school vision. Judging from this, it's easy to assume that Erica and Isa are related. Now out of the vision, you are on the 7th floor of the S-23 Sierpinski facility. Going out of the dorm room you fell in, and into the cafeteria, you can find the fuse required to power the Paternoster lift's engine above in floor 5. You unlock the previously locked door to floor 7 and climb up to floor 5. After inserting the fuse and solving a simple puzzle, the Paternoster lift is finally functional, allowing you to go between different floors with ease. Now that floor 8 is finally accessible through the Paternoster lifts, you go down. Right to your left is a set of rooms leading to the operational command control replica unit Folke's living quarters. The Folke has actually been mentioned a few times, but none of them explain what the Folke is meant for. After picking up a shutter gate handle needed for the rolling shutter gate door on floor 7, you find a note in the room ahead explaining more details about the Folke unit. The Protector Führungskommandus commander, the head of each Eon facility's protector force, is a powerful prototype bioresonant Folke unit. An authority that may never be questioned. A Folke unit serves not just as a commander to the protectors, but as a nearly godlike being, a perception that is underlined by her tall build and resemblance to our nation's leaders, the Great Revolutionary and her daughter. It is also aided by her powerful prototype bioresonant module, which not only allows her to bend the will of weaker minds and fathom their intentions and emotions, but also grants her the ability to manipulate objects from a distance. Ahead is a room where the Folke unit rests peacefully, while holding an odd-looking object that Elster mentions to possibly have a microphone or a speaker attached to it. Next to the Folke unit is also a diary, seemingly written by that exact Folke unit. 84-21-A. I don't know how much longer I can go on. I do not want to live anymore as what I have become. The red eye beyond the gate showed me, no, touched me, poisoned me. Feels like my mind has been contaminated, defiled by another person's memory. I'm no longer fully myself anymore, but I've not fully become someone else either. I'm stuck here, between her and me, with half-formed dreams and recollections penetrating my brain and tainting my every action. Who is she? Who is that white-haired girl? Why do I long to see her again? Why would she curse me like this? It's possible that the disease isn't as simple as a contagious virus or an infection. Based on current information, the white-haired girl, Ariane Young, seems to also be directly involved with whatever is happening. The text that flashed before the Mina fight also mentioned the Song of a God and the Red Eye, which seem to be common themes in Volke's diary as well. There are still many questions, but you continue forward. Moving north, the flashlight module needed for all of the dark rooms can be found in Adler's bedroom, as mentioned by the note from earlier. But before exploring the dark rooms, you open the piano room in floor 7 with a shutter gate handle. Inside is a save point and the owl key, which is needed to open a locked door on floor 6. Checking the first dark room on floor 6, you go through a room with medical equipment and some kind of pressurized gas tanks. And ahead is a shooting range, which has a strip of adhesive tape and a weapons gate, although it's currently locked, requiring you to find a key to open it. A note on the wall of the shooting range displays top scores of different replica units that have used the shooting range, a star unit nicknamed Hunter being the one with the best scores, the Stork unit nicknamed Stork Sheeben, who you met before, and the star unit nicknamed Tank are also on the leaderboard, with slightly lower scores. And no, you cannot use the shooting range yourself, unfortunately. Going in order, you go down to floor 7 and explore the dark room next to the Paternoster looping lift. You end up in what appears to be an office room. There's only one infected EULA unit in the room, most likely hiding in there from all of the chaos before being infected themselves. After finishing off the infected EULA unit, you find a key labeled the Hunter's Key, which, as you might guess, opens the locked weapon gate. Inside is one of the best weapons in the game, the Einhorn revolver. A very powerful revolver that fires 12mm high-powered hollow-tipped rounds. As the description implies, the revolver deals very heavy damage, being able to kill low-tier enemies with only one well-placed shot, and higher-tier enemies with 2 or 3 shots. If you didn't realize yet, this specific revolver used to belong to the star unit nicknamed Hunter, who you saw on the leaderboards in the shooting range. It is unknown if Hunter is still alive, but considering that her revolver was left alone, it would be easy to assume that she has been infected. The room also has a key labeled the Island Key, and also a peculiar note that reads, "One of the Colibris has holed herself up in the management office on the 7th floor. I've seen her, and her illusions, sitting inside the room, crying. Which one is the real one? I think it's because of that painting in there. Whenever I was close to her, I felt like my mind was being assaulted by that image of that island. The sensation was strong enough to make me hurl. Is there a way to neutralize the transmission? Maybe some sort of feedback loop of the frequency of her control signal?" Finding the room on floor 7, it seems that the note was right. The first infected replica Colibri unit in the game can be found in the aforementioned management office. The Colibri tries to invade your mind through bioresonance, and the only 2 ways of defeating it is either tuning your radio to the values flashing on the screen, or guessing correctly and shooting the real Colibri, instead of the fake illusions. The Colibri was originally intended to improve the mental stability of replica units in different facilities, and also increase squad cohesion through the use of bioresonance. They are able to probe into the minds of replica units and gestalts to extract information non-verbally and directly influence the minds of others. A note in the game mentions that Colibris are also used to amplify the bioresonance signals emitted by the Volca units of every facility. In the room is also a painting with a keyhole, Interacting with it, Elster says, "A painting of a strange island. Somehow, it feels very familiar. Using the island key will open a hole in the painting and give you the workshop key." Going down again, there is still one more dark room that hasn't been explored. The Stork Dormitory. Inside is multiple infected EULA units, a Commander Star unit, and multiple dead Stork units that have most likely already been there long before you arrived. At the end of the dormitory is a hatch that leads underground. After going down, your flashlight immediately breaks and you are left without light in the dark hallway. You quickly find out that this entire underground passageway has been built by one ERA unit that is also residing inside. Next to the ERA unit is an interesting document. EON Guideline 176 for the deployment of operational procedures. Operational psychology. In order to reliably protect the safety of our nation, EON must develop and deploy procedures and technologies to maintain complete control over all replicas in service of the nation. Just like with Gestalts, procedures involving operational psychology are highly effective for behavior control of replicas. The primary advantage of replicas over Gestalts is predictability. All newly deployed replicas of a model are virtually identical both physically and psychologically. As they all share the same memories under the same circumstances, a newly deployed EULA unit will practically always react in the same way. However, as soon as a unit encounters new situations, it will begin to deviate from the original pattern. In some cases, this may lead to the unit being less efficient for its intended purpose. This is called persona degradation. Using a wealth of private information about the life of the Gestalt each neural pattern is based on allows us to ensure optimal, uniform, post-deployment development of each unit. In simpler terms, our primary objective is the focused manipulation of the individual to ensure they remain as close to the original pattern as possible, and thus productive, loyal, and docile for as long as possible. This is called persona stabilization. Stabilization can come in many forms and usually takes on the form of regular activities or fetish objects that distract and calm the replica. Until the development of bioresonance technology that allows wide-scale direct behavior control, the methods of operational psychology still remain the most reliable way to control both replicas and gestalts in the interest of the protection of national security. This explains a lot more about replicas, and about EON as a whole. Replicas are based on the neural patterns of human gestalts, and that's why specific units are so similar personality-wise. Keeping the replicas under tight control is very important to them keeping their productivity, since if they start developing individuality, they might stop working, or at worst, turn against the government. When talking to the ERA unit, she mentions some interesting things. "Oh, it's you. What are you doing here? Aren't you supposed to be in the mine?" "Your flashlight? Let me take a look. Try it now." Can you believe this? All these files. They think they know us so well. So much talk about persona and stabilization. In the end, they just want us to shut up and work until we die. What a joke. "What do you mean you don't remember me? Did you hit your head?" "I'm staying here. No chance I'm ever going back to work." It seems that the ERA unit remembers either you or a different version of you. It's unsure how or why, but it's possible that because she has been in isolation for so long, that she hasn't been affected with whatever is going on. Now with the dark rooms explored, you go down to floor 6, You open the workshop with the keycard you got from the painting, and inside is a table with an audio tape deck unit directly connected to a radio broadcasting device. Previously, on floor 6, there was a crumpled note written by a star unit who was unhappy with the Eula units constantly playing music from a tape recorder. Using the OWL keycard that was in the piano room, you find yourself in the Eula unit's dormitory. As expected, inside is a tape recorder that has a knife stabbed through it, and next to it, a broken music cassette. Using the adhesive tape you got from the shooting range, you repaired the music cassette and inserted it into the tape deck unit. Now with the cassette working, you can tune your radio to 142 kHz to listen to the song. The song is one of Pyotr Tchaikovsky's most popular pieces, Swan Lake. A note in the game mentions the original neural pattern for the Eula units to be that of a ballet dancer, which would explain why they specifically listen to Swan Lake, as it is one of the most influential and popular ballets ever. If you remember, the Folke unit down in floor 8 was holding a peculiar looking device with a microphone attached to it. Going up to it with the music playing will make it rotate. And eventually open, revealing the hummingbird key, which opens another locked door on floor 8. Inside the room, you find the eagle keycard needed to open Adler's room, and also a note next to it that reads, "Keep an eye on Adler, he's hiding something from us." There was nothing in his diary, but when I probed his mind, there were memories of an Elster unit working at Sierpinski. There's no record of that model of replica ever being deployed here. An order for a single unit for some survey work in the mine was briefly considered, but no new orders were made due to the commander's sickness. This seems directly related to what the ERA unit said previously about you being supposed to be in the mines. So far, 2 replica units seem to remember what seems to be a different version of you in this facility. Adler also mentioned previously that you shouldn't have come back. It's unsure if you are a different version of that other Elster unit, or if your consciousness is the same as that other Elster. The bedroom to the right has a corrupted colibri, and after defeating it, you pick up the postbox key needed for the postbox 512 on floor 6. But first, you open up the door to Adler's study. Date 84-21-6. I have been fascinated by a peculiar piece of furniture I discovered in storage. A strange box with a removable dial in the front that was confiscated from a worker some time ago. I was instantly drawn to it, though I'm not sure why. When I put my ear on the mechanism, I can hear it faintly clicking, like a clock. Date 84-21-7. Without Calibria's help, it has become much harder to coordinate the logistics cadre. If there is anything good to say about that woman, it is how she knows how to make others respect her orders, despite her minuscule stature. I went to see her today, but her room is still locked. Date 84-21-8. I had a dream tonight. Another memory of my Gestalt life, I believe. I was wearing my uniform. There was a young woman, her hair white as snow, and I was conducting some sort of test. I had a deck of cards with astronomical symbols on them and asked her to guess the planet on the card I was holding. Date 84-21-9. I was playing with that mechanical lockbox again, of which I am now sure is some kind of astronomical calendar, when I suddenly remembered a conversation I had with another replica when I was inspecting the mining site. However, it was clearly a model I have never seen before. Some type of engineer with an orange chest piece. In my memory, she was just another member of our staff, but no such replica was ever stationed on Sierpinski. Replica memory is not the most reliable, they say, but never before have I experienced such a strange phenomenon. Date 84-21-A. The little enigma of that box could only distract me from the chaos around me for so long. All the box contained was a small notebook, of which all pages turned out to be blank. It has been miserable since our beloved commander has fallen ill. I long for her stern guidance, that overwhelming authority in which she bathes a room. Date 84-21-B. More sick, making my work ever harder. How are we meant to shoulder this workload with no reinforcements? My only consolation is that as our protector staff decreases, so does the workforce we oversee. While more and more replica end up in the hospital wing, Gestalt workers seem to succumb too fast for any attempts at treatment. Another diary filled for no benefit but my own satisfaction. I've not ordered a new one yet, since I spent my saved ration marks on that marvelous looking fountain pen, but I guess I'll make use of that notebook. This confirms that Adler is much closely connected to the incident than previously expected. The third entry is especially curious, with him mentioning conducting a test with cards for a person with hair white as snow. The fourth entry mentions Adler recalling a conversation in the mines with a replica unit that supposedly hasn't ever existed. In the room, there is also the aforementioned mechanical lockbox that is missing a dial, and also a Eon document detailing information about the replica unit you are playing as, Elster. The document mentions the Elster replica unit to be designed to be a ship technician and a land survey unit. And because of this, they are specifically made to be able to survive for a long time through their extensive technical knowledge, combat capabilities, and self-repairing tools. But more importantly, the end of the document mentions the original neural pattern for the Elster unit to have been lost in the destruction of the Central Neural Archive on the planet Veneta. And because of this, all new Elster units have been produced based on a destroyed Elster unit from the Penrose program. This seems directly connected to the Elster unit you play as, since you initially woke up on a crashed Penrose scout ship. In search for the missing dial, you go back up to floor 6 and open the lockbox 512. Inside is a key for the library on floor 8. Going down to floor 8 and opening the library, inside you find the first Colibri unit of the game that isn't infected. Who are you? You're not one of our staff. The others, they've changed. We no longer sing in unison. I used to be able to see into their minds. We were as one. Together, we guided them all. But now, I can't understand their thoughts anymore. I've never been so alone before. They're still together, and I am here, outside, and they won't let me in. I cannot stand their song anymore. This is the only place where I don't have to hear them. This is the only place I'm safe. I can't go on like this. I wish I had become like the others too. At least then, I wouldn't be alone. I hate this. A note next to the Colibri explains that once a majority of units in a Colibri cadre degrade, they will drag all other units down with them through their bioresonant abilities. The note also mentions that the neural patterns used on colibris are very unstable, especially if they cannot properly communicate with others through bioresonance, like in this case. I think it's easy to guess that this colibri won't last long. In the room, there is also a very unique looking machine, almost resembling a vending machine, except that it also has a computer attached to it. Completing a simple puzzle will reveal that the book inside the machine is The King in Yellow, the same book you have been seeing multiple times throughout the game. Although, this one has a hole cut out in the middle of the pages of it, with the dial needed for the lockbox inside. It's unknown what this currently means, but you head back to Adler's study. Of course, simply slotting the dial into the lockbox won't open it. There's a room down south in floor 8 that shows the solar system of the universe Signalis takes place in. You need to align the first 3 rings and the positions of the planets correctly, which will make the lockbox open. Inside is Adler's administrator keycard, which allows you to access the elevator again, but also the diary Adler was referring to. Except this one isn't empty. Date 84-21-D. I've started yet another diary. How time flies. The work is dull and monotonous as ever in Sierpinski, but a bright light illuminates my day. Today, I was invited to a meeting by Commander Folke, and she was as magnificent as ever. Date 84-21-D. Another day passes. During my meeting with the commander today, I felt the strangest sensation of familiarity as I sat with her. Sadly, our meeting was interrupted by an unexpected power outage. Date 84-21-D. I've been feeling strangely paranoid these days. Never before have I felt so strongly the sensation of déjà vu as I have these past few days. Date 84-21-D. When I checked the pages of my diary today, I noticed that for some inexplicable reason, I seem to have dated my previous entries with today's date. What an embarrassing mistake. Date 84-21-D. Every day feels a bit like I've lived it before, and even stronger is the sensation that something is somehow just slightly out of place. Date 84-21-D. Why is my diary filled with entries I cannot recall writing? Why are they all dated to today? Has the loss of my beloved commander finally gotten to my mind? Am I going insane? I fear what will happen to me if anyone finds out. I am alone in this. If they discover my notes, I'll be decommissioned too. Date 84-21-D. Something is wrong. I can feel it. Is this really madness? When I read the pages of my diary, I recall events that never happened. A yesterday that never was. Yet it feels as real as the one I actually experienced. This cannot merely be a defect of my mind. Date 84-21-D. It feels as though in this room I peer into another version of reality. How? I do not know. Perhaps I, too, have become sick like the others, without realizing, but I will not succumb. Date 84-21-D. A slow accumulation of reproduction errors, a gradual corruption of information, a story misremembered, slowly morphing with each retelling, like genetic material mutating and evolving, like the replica mind, copied over and over from an aging template? I do not know, but I will find out. The answers lie below. I can feel it. Someone or something calls for me from there, in the mine. This is one of the most important pieces of information the game has given so far. Adler not only seems to be changing as a character, but also he describes what could commonly be interpreted as alternate realities or time looping. It's unknown why Adler specifically seems to remember the events when most others do not. Why the Era unit remembers a different version of Elster is also unknown. But it's definitely more clear what is happening here. The world itself seems to be morphing with each repeat, usually for the worse, but only a few are unaffected by it. The visions Elster has experienced so far are most likely also connected to this. As Adler said, the answers lie in the mine, so you go down. You are shown yet another vision. This time with Adler hunting Isa Ito with a rifle. Isa stabs Adler in the face, and he falls down the unnaturally large hole in the ground. You are shown a staticky visual with text saying Zyklus, which translates to cycle. Adler mentioned that he has done this countless times before, and that Isa doesn't belong here, which most likely means the time loops the world is going through. The mines are in much less of a problematic state as the upper floors. It's quiet, and there is still a lack of personnel going around, but it's at least not stained with blood. The same mining lasers that the Mina unit used from before can be found scattered on the ground, and floodlights light up the areas in the mine. You quickly come across a warning stating to not come in contact with so-called monofilament fiber, and to always work with it in a well-lit setting. The warning is plastered on what seems to be bundles of said fiber. Going south, you find what looks like an office room, and on the table is the fourth main weapon of the game, the LP-265A Leuschpistole flare gun. This weapon uses emergency signal flare cartridges that burn hot enough to burn replica armor, just like how the thermite flare does. Easily one of the best, or maybe even the best weapon in the game, especially with the alternative ammo you get later on. But I'll leave that for later. Normally, you need only one shot to fully kill most lower tier enemies and also higher tier enemies. And additionally, it also incinerates them, meaning that they will never get up again. You can even cheese certain enemies with this weapon, like the Mina, making it essentially a non-threat as long as you have ammo for the flare gun. Next to the flare gun is also the third page from Alina's diary. It's worse than I thought. Everyone has disappeared. I still haven't found any trace of Elster. It's as if she had never been here. Something's wrong with the protectors, those that are still around. A guard spotted me earlier sneaking out of the medical wing, and she let out a monstrous scream as she chased after me. When I looked back, I saw her face, and now I can't forget. It looked like she'd been in some horrible accident. It's unknown why several pages of Alina's diary are even scattered throughout different parts of the facility. How are they conveniently placed on the most visible parts of each room? Is she trying to lead us somewhere? Alina also mentions in this entry that she hasn't found any trace of Elster. It's been multiple times now where something similar to that has been mentioned. At this point, it might be easy to assume that there is some kind of time loop happening, where some people are, for whatever reason, unaffected by the changing timeline. In the next room, there is an industrial lift that finally brings you to the lower levels of the mines. Immediately, there are much more enemies, and also much more higher tier enemies than in previous floors, with the larger rooms being your only big advantage. Down here, you really have to think if it's even worth it to take out certain enemies due to ammo scarcity. After clearing the big room and going south, you come across what seems to be an accident that happened with the monofilament fiber that was mentioned before. Even touching the fiber will immediately damage you, and it being almost invisible without light makes it extra deadly. Carrying a flashlight in this area is highly recommended. There are several dead Yule and star units, and one fatally wounded star unit next to a crying Yule. Going north, there are, yet again, multiple higher tier enemies, with even a Mina unit appearing outside of the boss fight for the first time. You need to initiate the opening sequence for the large hatch with the button in the middle and wait for it to be done. If you're running low on ammo, you can kite the enemies around the hatch and drop down when the timer is done, or if you have enough ammo, just simply kill all of them. When the timer is done, you drop down. You are in the same place where Adler got stabbed by Isa, and the only way forward is by dropping down the massive gaping hole in the middle. It's unsure why or how there is one massive hole in these mines, but with nowhere else to go, you drop down. Transported to the island. There are several notes scattered on the island. Together, they read, "For there be different sorts of death, some wherein the body remains. Some it vanisheth quite away with spirit. One kind of death, the spirit dies, while yet the body was in vigor for many years. Sometimes it dieth with the body, but is raised up again where the body did decay. And a star fell, sky, and a mountain fell into the sea, and turned to blood. Moon turned dark. Along the shore, the cloud waves break, the twin suns sink, the shadows lengthen. The night where black stars rise and strange moons circle through the skies, but stranger still. Song of unsung, as tears unshed shall dry and die." These notes themselves are direct lyrics from Casilda's song from the book The King in Yellow. But there is one more note. "It calls me, in a sea of flesh. We will become one, but I can never go back to being me." This might have something to do with the sentence, "The answers lie below, I can feel it. Someone or something calls for me from there, in the mine." That was written by Adler in one of his diaries, but I'll get back to this later. After the vision, you find yourself in a pit with several dead replica units at your feet. with the only way forward being a rusty metallic door. You seem to be in what appears to be a morgue of sorts. Bloody tools lay on carts and mangled bodies are laid in mortuary drawers. The doors do not lead to where they should. Going left puts you into a room on the right. And the fact that a place like this even exists this far underground is unnatural in itself. You may also quickly notice that your map module is not functional in this place, almost like it's impossible to know where anything is. There are more industrial doors, but some of them are locked by what seems to be some kind of pattern code. The next room seems to be some kind of museum-like room with pedestals for displaying items, with one of them having a Russian-style matryoshka doll, but more importantly, above it is a warning plastered to a wall. The warning is very worn down, but the words that can be made out read as, "This place, here, nothing valued is here. What is, was dangerous and repulsive. Message is a warning about. The danger is still present, time as it was. Is to the body and form of the danger is. The danger is, disturb this place. Shunned and left uninhabited. When within is killed, a path will open here." It's possible that this was written by the people that were evacuated down here before they were either killed or corrupted to warn anyone that tries to survive here. The warning itself was most likely placed here a while ago, since it's already so worn down that so many words are completely washed out. The words that can be made out form a very cryptic sentence, but I would theorize that disturbing the peace of this place will only make everything worse. That something is guarding it, preventing you from proceeding past the warning sign. Going down the ladder, the environment is even more worn down. Everything is rusted or corroded, and yet again, the doors do not lead where they should. Enemies are scattered throughout different rooms, and there seems to be more of them than before. There are even more locked doors with pattern-based codes required to open them. To the right, there is what seems to be a classroom, almost like this place is trying to emulate the environment from before. In the room to the north, there is a large room with a massive hole in the ground that is occupied by a mass of pulsating flesh, which leads deeper down. After dropping down, you encounter the second boss of the game, the Nue, or Chimera. This flesh cage is an abomination made from several melted replica units, having 4 stork legs and 8 arms from different units. Taking down the Chimera by yourself is not possible due to its overwhelming vitality of 900 health points. Instead, you have to dodge and weave around it until Isa finally loads her rifle and shoots it, which afterward she is immediately knocked out from the recoil. If you didn't notice already, the floors, walls, and ceilings are all made of flesh, and you can hear a faint heart-thumping noise whenever you are in this area. The same rusty cage doors and morgue equipment can also be found down here, making it look like the area was overtaken by whatever caused this to happen. In the next room, the game introduces the highest tier base enemy of the game, the Stork replica unit. Originally intended as combat-capable units that are ready to work with and coordinate star units, As expected, most Stork units have been infected, most likely because they were deployed for combat from the beginning. Unlike the other corrupted units, the Storks have been completely distorted. Their head is a cylindrical shaped growth, almost resembling the beak of a bird. Their arms are missing, and they walk while hunched back. The corrupted Stork is the strongest standard enemy in the game. They attack with the large growth, giving them much more range than other corrupted enemies. They are usually placed within groups, also making it even more difficult to deal with. While down here, you can pick up a ring, a rusted key, and the plate of flesh from different pedestals. After climbing back up from a ladder and unlocking the door, it obviously leads somewhere where it logically shouldn't, which is to one of the first rooms you were in. But anyway, in the pedestal room, the warning from before has disappeared, and the same kind of metallic cage door has been put in its place. Going inside, the room has what seems to be a stone bed with a silhouette of a person, and next to it is an interesting looking book. The Dreamer. A prison from which the only escape is death. Deep below, the Dreamer floats in the sea of flesh, the red eye birthing a new world from their dream for eternity. And each time the Dreamer turns over in their sleep, the world turns over too, until only flesh remains. It seems that you are close to the source of the corruption. It's possible that this room is supposed to symbolize how the different bioresonant units are connected, and possibly corrupting each other. Folke's diary from before also mentioned Ariane to be involved in this somehow, which would explain this book mentioning someone being deep below in the sea of flesh. The note from the island also mentioned the flesh and becoming one with others, which could mean the consciousnesses of the several bioresonant individuals transforming and corrupting each other. The room itself also very closely resembles that of the room Folke was resting in from before, which partly confirms this. The red eye is also mentioned yet again, although what it directly means is currently only speculation. But more importantly, this book seems to confirm the time looping or timeline corruption theory by mentioning that each time the Dreamer turns over in their sleep, the world turns over too, until only flesh remains. More answers are most likely going to be found deeper down, so you continue. Using the smelling salts you got from the Dreamer's room, you awaken Isa below. And she gives you the rifle she was using. Which is the BW-5 Nitro Express rifle. The rifle uses PTFE-coated high-power, armor-piercing 16mm ammunition, which, as the name implies, pierces through any armor that the enemies might have, like the shields that promoted star units have. The ammunition for this weapon is generally very scarce, but it makes up for it with its ridiculous single target damage, usually at its best when saved for stronger enemies like Stork units or bosses. Going back up from the flesh pit, you unlock one of the locked doors with the key you got from below. Inside is another locked cage door, the second wooden doll, but also the alternative ammunition type for the flare gun, the high explosive grenade shells. I said before that my favorite weapon was the shotgun because it will almost immediately incapacitate most enemies. But this one ammo type makes the flare gun even better at that. Only one shot in almost any room is enough to either immediately kill or at least stun all enemies inside. But with the downside of it also dealing splash damage to you. Although, as long as you aren't getting constantly hit, the damage from it is trivial to heal. Going back up, there was still one more room next to the flesh pit that was unexplored. Inside are dozens of CRT monitors and what seem to be red eyes on the monitors. A note out in the open reads, "No escape." Even in the darkest depths, the song of the cosmos can still be heard in the ether, the sound of the stars. This most likely means that the corruption from the bioresonance can spread as far as they want it to, and that's how they can even manipulate time and reality itself, twisting it, slowly corrupting it. On the table is a wedding ring, and also a peculiar looking machine with a microphone hooked up to it. Tuning your radio to different frequencies will make the machine display the pattern codes needed to open the cage doors that have been shown multiple times. First, behind the diamond pattern door is a maze-like room with monofilament fiber attached to pillars, which are impossible to see without a flashlight. At the end of the room is the plate of sacrifice, which you pick up and leave. Behind the triangle pattern door is a group of enemies waiting for you. One stork, 3 Eulas and 1 Mina. After taking them down, you pick up another wooden doll on the operating bed and go to the room on the left. Another room with much more enemies than usual, this time with 3 Eulas and 2 stork units. For some reason, it seems that a lot of enemies seem to be grouped up in this area. You pick up the serpent's ring on the chair and leave. Going back to the right is a long hallway with a corrupted Colibri, Stork and Yuli unit. The door on the left side of the hallway leads to a room that seems to have been previously some kind of office room. All of the furniture in the room looks like it had been burned, and on the table rests only a lamp, an incense stick, and the 4th page from Alina's diary. How long has it been that I'm down here? How did I get here? Where is this place and why am I here? My memory feels so blurry, as if I had always been here, forever. Even my hair is slowly turning white. I remember my name, and I remember my life. But I also remember a different name and a different life. And it feels like the line between her and me is blurring the longer I stay here. Alina. It's possible that, like many others, Alina is also being corrupted by the influences of this place. More specifically, Ariane. According to this note, Alina seems to be becoming another version of Ariane, like Folke was mentioned previously. It's unsure if Alina ever even existed, or if she was always a fabrication created by Ariane, but answers to that will be shown later. The door to the right of the hallway leads to a peculiar looking room. Structurally, the room looks identical to one of the rooms from the medical bay, but all of the plants are flesh. The seats are rusted cages, and when you look at the pillar, your head hurts. The door seems to require 6 plates, of which you currently have 2. Going back and opening the pentagon pattern door, you come across a room with a massive metallic mechanism that seems to be idle, and a scale atop a pedestal with the plate of balance keeping it down. Of course, simply picking it up isn't going to work, since the mechanism locks you on the other side of the room when the weight is removed from the scale. You need something as heavy or heavier than the plate to weigh the scale down. If you remember, you have been picking up a few wooden dolls throughout this segment of the game. It's possible that all of them together could be heavy enough to equal to the weight of the plate. of course, you put the three of them together, which makes a combined doll that resembles a mina unit. Swap the plate with it, giving you the third plate required to open the locked door. Now with the plate of balance collected, you go back up to the morgue to use the incense that was acquired earlier. Using the incense on the altar, it unlocks itself and gives you the fourth plate, the plate of love. Next, opening the star pattern door, you find yourself in a massive dark space entirely filled by pulsating flesh, with a metal platform being the only way to go forward. There are two corrupted Eula units on the platform, who most likely tried hiding here to avoid the Chimera and other threats. Ahead is a room that leads to another room with dozens of chairs pointed towards a peculiar looking statue of a figure. A note on one of the chairs has several words scattered that you have to rearrange to spell out specific sentences. Putting them in the correct order spells out: she was crowned on the first day. She was wed the next day. Nothing was done on the longest day. She took her life on the last day. Going up to the sculpture, one of its hands is blocking its face and another one is extended outward towards you, with its fingers curled upward. The sculpture itself is highly rusted and also bloody, almost like it's partly alive. You need to place the rings you have gotten from previous rooms in the specific order depicted by the note. And doing so will make the statue move the hand covering its face, revealing the fifth plate needed for the door. The plate of knowledge. Now with 5 plates acquired from this cursed place, you can finally open the locked door, since the 6th and final plate was already acquired from before. Placing the plates and unlocking the door, you find yourself in a very familiar looking place. A large pit with metallic rods stuck to the walls to make a staircase. The entire pit itself seems to be alive, and as so, is made of flesh and pulsating veins. And as you climb up, And that is the ending of Signalis. Just kidding, obviously there's going to be more. Going back to the main menu, instead of showing the eye of a functional Elster, it is instead replaced with a broken one. After going back in, something interesting happens. You wake up again in the same scout ship you were in before, although this time things are different. The ship is in operational state and in space. Going up the stairs to the upper deck, you find a checklist for different maintenance checks you have to do before reporting to your Gestalt officer. Cryogenic hibernation unit, check. Coolant injection pipes, check. Flight controls, check. Mainframe access terminal, check. Although on the table is an interesting looking note wrapped in an envelope. It says, classified replica information for Gestalt officer eyes only. Opening the note, it reads, Elster units were chosen for the Penrose program for their adaptability and reliability under long-term isolation conditions. Stoic and reserved, Elster units have a relatively stable neural pattern. It is best for you to leave it alone and interact with the Elster unit as little as possible. Elster's neural pattern was a soldier of Vinetan origin, so their needs are basic. Avoid talking to the Elster unit about the war. Penrose vessels are fitted with a specialized calibration pod, which may help with persona stabilization. To avoid resurfacing of Gestalt memories, do not show or give the Elster unit photographs, especially of soldiers during the war. Do not show the Elster unit movies or let it listen to music. Do not try to befriend the Elster unit. Now with all of the tasks done, you can report back to your Gestalt officer, and so you do. You awaken. You are severely wounded. You are missing an arm and your chest is wide open, leaking out accident. You have to find a way to repair yourself, quick. There are several bloody notes scattered on the crashed, decrepit ship. Cycle. Tell whatever awake or asleep anymore. Vision is blurry and my fingers hurt. My back hurt. My teeth hurt. Eyes hurt. Everything hurts. All of the time. I can't go on. Please make it stop. Lost another tooth. There was so much blood. My hands were shaking. Why is my hair falling out? I can't sleep. I just want to sleep. Please just let me sleep. Entering what was previously a cryogenic hibernation room, the hibernation pod itself is open, and where there would normally be a person inside, is instead a humongous flesh growth. More importantly, next to the growth looks to be a mostly intact Elster unit, who also looks to have a repair spray on their person. This could work. Now with your body repaired, you walk out of the room and quickly realize that the previously locked cockpit is now open. Walking inside, the door closes and someone locks it from behind. In front of you is a massive flesh pit like from before, although it's even more puzzling where this one could lead. With nowhere else to go, you drop down. Yet again, the island. Those who sing the same song have heard it in their dreams. A dark tone at the edge of hearing. A silent voice whispering to my heart. Come join us. Together we will be eternal. There is no escape. We will be one. But I fear the dark sea that will swallow me. Something old, far older than humanity, sleeps deep below the ground. Those of you who can hear its call in the night, an invitation. An ocean of memories where I ends and we begin. Great holes secretly are digged where earth pours out to suffice. And things have learned to walk that ought to crawl. We should have never left the primordial soup. Only through death can I escape the call of the one who rules above all life. Kill me, 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 kill me. After another boot up sequence, you awaken as the now repaired Elster in the same bathroom you started at in the Sierpinski facility. This time, things are different. Something has changed. The entire facility has been consumed by flesh. Doors are blocked by large growths. Parts of the floor have veins, and there is blood everywhere. The door to the room that leads to the rest of the facility is locked, just like before. Going into the classroom, the whiteboard says in German, "You were here before." Who or what wrote this is unknown, but it seems to be a hint. The safe with the keycard to open the door is locked, but if we are to go by the logic presented, the code from the beginning of the game should work. 204512. Got it. Now with the keycard, you open the door, and the hole is still there, but it more so looks like it leads to the center of this flesh mass, rather than deeper into the facility. It calls me, in a sea of flesh. We will become one, but I can never go back to being me. That's what a note from one of the islands said before. The only way forward is to go deeper into the flesh, so you go down. After that information-packed sequence, you're transported to Ariane's home planet, Rotfront. The place seems quiet, abandoned even. There are trash bags scattered around, the paternoster lifts are out of order, and the enemies have changed. They now wear gas masks and have a glowing red tint in their eyes, similar to the ones that assaulted Ariane in one of the visions. In front of you seems to be some kind of worn down mechanism with the names of multiple planets on it. Looking through the hole in the middle, you can see some kind of room with a computer screen and a bookshelf. Although, that is the most you can see for now. First, going to the left, the first room, you find an office room with a functional computer, but also the sixth and final main weapon of the game, the Type 84 Drash submachine gun. An automatic compact submachine gun that fires 8mm compact ammunition in bursts of 3. Not the most powerful weapon, but it's great for quickly taking out weaker enemies. Next to the gun is also the computer, which currently only has one program that you can open, the email. The first one shows a request for the submachine gun you picked up. The second one is about a key to a photo store, but the third one is more interesting. To the blockwart of Sector C, there are rumors that there's an Imperial spy active in your area. A Protector Special Operations Unit has been dispatched from Eon headquarters on Heimat to investigate and should arrive within 6 to 12 cycles. Needless to say, should they be successful, this will not reflect well on your record. You know what to do. The fourth one is a message to a Colibri unit this computer belongs to, mentioning them possibly being decommissioned depending on their performance. The fifth one is a follow-up message about the bookstore keys, giving a hint on how to open the locked back door. And the last one seems to be a response to something the Colibri unit sent. Keeping them in memory, you go to the upper floor by climbing a ladder, which leads you to a large hallway. You will be coming back here a few times, but first, going to the room south, you find yourself in what appears to be a room where someone was developing film. And so, there's a developing tank on the desk that you pick up. But on the couch, there's an interesting looking document. Classified information, replica technician Gestalt eyes only. Carefully selected by Eon, exemplary citizens of the nation are permanently cryogenically preserved in neural archives, each becoming a neural pattern for a new replica model. To preserve the image of the replica as an incorruptible ideal, the original Gestalt is erased from records and public memory. During the production process, when experienced bioresonant technicians copy the neural pattern to a new unit, a majority of episodic memories are altered and suppressed. While the resulting replica maintains the skill and personality of the original Gestalt, it will be incapable to recall specific events from the life of the donor under normal circumstances. This ensures that the replica performs its duties without distractions created by personal memories of the donor. However, even the best maintained replica unit will eventually be exposed to stimuli that may cause Gestalt memories to resurface. While units degraded in such way pose no particular danger, like all units with persona degradation, they will eventually lose many of their advantages over Gestalt workers. Because persona degradation is usually difficult to identify from the outside, bioresonance is used by command units to surveil units under their command. Generally, it is recommended that to swiftly decommission and replace units before their productivity decrease, or they begin to show clear signs of individuality. When ammunition is rationed, alternative ways of decommissioning may be deployed at the discretion of local operational command. This gives a tremendous amount of insight into many different aspects of the story. First off, it seems that the reason why the replicas seem so mysterious is because the Yusan nation has been intentionally hiding the fact that every single replica is based on a real human's mind and personality, with the biggest difference being that most of the memories are suppressed to make the replicas more efficient. The replicas are essentially made to be easily manufactured mechanical slaves with human personalities. This is very much confirmed by this same note, where it mentions persona degradation. Like all units with persona degradation, they will eventually lose many of their advantages over Gestalt workers. And then after they mention that, generally it is recommended that to swiftly decommission and replace units before their productivity decrease, or they begin to show clear signs of individuality. When ammunition is rationed, alternative ways of decommissioning may be deployed at the discretion of local operational command. The main reason for bioresonant units existing are also explained in the same note. Because persona degradation is usually difficult to identify from the outside, bioresonance is used by command units to surveil units under their command. Committing that to memory, you go to the other apartment, which gives you a hand wheel for a valve. And a newspaper. Mondfest celebrations cancelled over safety concerns. The seasonal Mondfest celebration, a young but well-established tradition in most Rotfront sectors, will not be allowed to take place until further notice, the Protector Public Office has announced today. There is a credible threat to public safety that is currently under Protector investigation. Citizens are only to leave for work and report all suspicious activity to their block warden. When pressed about the rumors of an Imperial spy living in Sector C, the Protector Public Office only repeated their appeal to citizens to report all suspicious activities to a Protector. This seems to refer to the previously mentioned spy from the Empire being stationed in Rotfront. The protectors seem very adamant on keeping additional information a secret from the general public, most likely because they don't want to harm their image, as they have let a spy roam free in Rotfront for at least some time. The careers, and as is now known, the lives of several replica units are on the line if they don't catch this spy. Going through the atrium and the hallway connected to it, you open the door to the doctor's office. On the hospital bed, there's a small box with a magpie illustrated on it, with a microphone that seems to also act as some sort of lock. Next to it is also another note. Teacher's evaluation, Ariane Young. The girl, without a doubt, is remarkably odd, certainly due to her being raised solely by her mother, rather than by a community of good people, overseen by a block warden, as is normal these days. Her obsession with paintings, music, and other such nonsense was clearly implanted during her time living in the mountains on that desolate radio outpost. And surely her friendship with those Veneden-born Ito sisters also exposed her to some of the questionable literature that is illegally sold in their parents' bookstore. She does not seem to understand that these distractions are no longer acceptable now that she must partake in the society of our nation like anyone else. Personally, I can only hope military service will beat those frivolous ideas out of her in a way that this school has failed to do so far. It seems that Ariane was seen as an outcast, or more accurately, an anomaly, compared to most of the other students at the school. The authoritarian rule of the Yuuzhan nation doesn't seem to fit people who aren't willing to become slaves for them, and as such, causing people like Ariane many issues. The military service that they speak of, in this case, most likely refers to the Penrose program, which, based on current information, didn't go too well. Going back down, you now have the hand wheel, which means you can close the leaking pipes in one of the hallways and proceed forward. The room up north seems to be a trash chute, and on one of the trash bags is a blue floppy disk. The computer might be able to use this. Quickly going back to the computer, you insert the disk and immediately on the desktop there are 3 new programs: Antenne, Transmit, and a text file named Ausricht. The text file reads, "Due to the power rationing, only a limited number of antennas in the grid are powered at a time. To determine which antennas are currently powered, use the antenna program to triangulate the correct antenna. Take note of the antenna where the best signal can be heard on both dishes. In the transmit program, enter the antenna number and select the correct sound file to broadcast." Doing as the instructions say, you triangulate the correct antenna, and now you have the ability to broadcast 3 different audio files on them. One of the sound files is called Polytone. The second one, Magpie. And the third one, Bells. If you remember from earlier, there was a locked box with a magpie painting on it, which was locked by some kind of microphone system, and one of the sound files is also called Magpie. As you might have already realized, you broadcast the sound file, go up to the box, and after a short delay, it opens itself. Inside is a pair of keys labeled store keys, and what appears to be a tarot card. This one specifically being the 17th one, Star. It's currently unknown what this is needed for, but you keep it for now. Going back to the hallway with the valves, you now instead go to the room on the right, The inside seems to be completely lit up by UV lights, and the floor is filled with bloodstains, and the same veins from before. Next to one of the lockers is a bottle of acetone, which you pick up before going to the next room. Going forward, you find yourself in what seems to be some kind of meat storage, although this one doesn't seem to have regular meat, but the flesh that's alive. In the room is also a large meat grinder, although this one seems to be broken. Deeming it safe, you drop down. You see an image of Ariane flash before falling down to the freezer. The area is yet again becoming more and more distorted. There's flesh, veins, blood, and even silhouettes of humanoid figures around. In the cafeteria connected to the freezer, you find a bloodied tarot card, this time depicting the tower. You pick it up and continue towards the south. The cafeteria seems to directly connect to an underground metro system. On the platform are many different enemies who most likely were supposed to be people waiting for the train before they were somehow corrupted. After clearing out the enemies, you may notice some anomalies. The train seems to still be somehow running, although it doesn't stop at this specific station. And towards the right, there are yet again television screens with the red eye watching through each of them. It seems like someone is watching you yet again. Going to the room next to the televisions, you find a key belonging to some kind of medical patient, which I will talk about later. Going back to the platform and moving to the west, you unlock the Young Photo Store and go inside. On the table you find developer fluid for developing film and an interesting collection of photographs. In the main photograph, there seems to be Alina Seo and someone else who looks a lot like Elster on Veneda, the flooded planet. There are also several names written on the main photograph, but the two that stand out are Ito Lilith and Seo Alina. Alina Seo has already been mentioned several times, but Lilith Ito has not. It doesn't seem like a coincidence that the previously mentioned characters Isa Ito and Erika Ito have the same last name. This does raise a lot of questions though, since Alina Seo, the person you have apparently been searching for, would have participated in the war with who seems to be the mother of the Ito sisters, making both of them much older than expected. Remembering that for now, you go to the west again, this time leading you to a surprisingly clean hallway with a Stork and Eula unit. Only 2 rooms can be accessed in this hallway. A postal room with a peculiar looking laser scanner, and another room that gives you quick access to the underground through a maintenance ladder. But ignoring that for now, the only unexplored area is towards the electronics shop, so you go back. Going through the back door of the electronics store, you find yet another ladder leading to an alleyway. The alleyway itself isn't useful for anything other than shortcuts to other locations. But it has an interesting book laying there, titled The Red Eye. There exists a strange folklorish idea in many sectors of Rotfront, related to pareidolia, the tendency to see meaningful images in random patterns, like seeing a face in an ink blot or letters in a smudge of dirt. It is well known that the so-called Red Eye is simply an anti-cyclonic storm produced by a high-pressure region in the atmosphere of Rotfront's planet. Yet for some of the early settlers of Rotfront, this natural phenomenon became symbolic of their struggle and way of life. That red spot in the sky became a perfect metaphor for the ever-present surveillance by the Protectors and the tight grip of the central government on Heimat. Even today, the idea of an unblinking, watchful eye observing their every move still resonates strongly with the people here. During the celebrations of Mondfest at the end of each season, adult citizens will sometimes give students ration marks that have been dipped in red paint. Officially, the red paint is said to represent the blood of those who died in the revolution. But the red coins share an eerie resemblance to that red eye, or is this just pareidolia too? Should you ever receive one of these red eye ration marks, remember to clean off the paint with acetone or a similar paint thinner. Spending or re-gifting paint-covered coins is considered to bring bad luck. The red eye seems much more important than previously anticipated. It seems that the red eye has been a legend amongst the citizens of the Yuuzhan nation, and the supposed origin of it is of an anticyclonic storm produced by a high-pressure region in the atmosphere of Rotfront's planet. Before going to the top floor, you go back to one of the rooms from the beginning. If you remember from before, there was one more room that wasn't explored. The one next to the first ladder room. Inside the room are 3 bunk beds, some basic furniture, and a painting of the same island you have seen many times now, though this time it has a tarot card stuck into it. Using the acetone you got from before, you dissolve the paint, making it leave a bloody mark, but allowing you to get the tarot card, the Lovers. After leaving the room, a fleshy pulsing growth takes over the entire room, blocking you from being able to enter it again. Now, the only unexplored place is the upper apartments. After defeating the previous residents, you collect a few pickups and move on. Actually, on the wall is an interesting looking poster. Reunification. Reunification at any cost. Orbital Defense Cannon Battery Vineda 12, Buyan and Kitesh in our crosshairs, artillery divisions of the People's Army. This is yet another propaganda poster by the Yuuzhan nation. This time showing the military's artillery division, showcasing their plans of liberating both Kitesh and Buyan, which are currently under control of the Empire. After that, you go forward to explore the other apartments, but not before taking out the previous residents in the hallway. After doing so, you enter the first apartment from the right. Inside, the air is foul. The entire room is filled with insects swarming the entire room, almost like there's something dead in there. On the table is an interesting looking book. Bioresonance Technology and its Limitations, classified. No other technology has shaped our nation as bioresonance has. Would we ever have been able to free ourselves from the stranglehold of the Empire without the support of replicas? Essential technologies like climaforming and induced gravity would be impossible without bioresonance technology. Despite that, it seems like we've made little effort to really understand or replicate bioresonant effects with conventional technology. Our progress in the development of electronics and microprocessors has stagnated for nearly a century now, as we focus solely on new ways to instrumentalize this barely understood phenomenon. Take replica production, for example. The process of duplicating a neural pattern from a gestalt host to a replica brain is still not fully understood. How does synchronicity happen? Why is the duplicate imperfect? What happens to pre-existing patterns in the received brain? Recreating a replica purely with microprocessors and digital programming may be far out of reach, but I believe that we've become overly dependent on a poorly understood technology controlled solely by a few gifted individuals. It may not be long before we're back where we were under the Empire. This seems to be written by some kind of scientist operating with bioresonance technology as their profession. The scientist in question seems worried about the fact that bioresonance technology has become the sole focus of the Yuuzhan nation, and because of that, progress on other technologies have stagnated for a while. The propaganda of the Yuuzhan nation definitely makes bioresonance seem like the absolute most important development, but in the long run, it might harm them. In the room, there's also a safe with a 4-letter code on it, which by default seems to say Elster. On the wall seems to be a display of 4 butterflies, and a subtitle below them saying pareidolia, which is the term for describing the phenomenon of seeing a meaningful pattern in something where it wasn't intended. If you didn't notice yet, the butterflies all have letters on them that spell out a 4-letter word, Eon. The company that manufactures and distributes replicas. Unlocking the safe with the code makes it open, and inside are 12 cocoons of some kind of creature, and in the middle of them is the tarot card, the moon. All of the other apartments have broken locks, so you go to the only other one that is unlocked, the doctor's room. Inside, the operating bed is completely filled with blood, and so are the tools, almost like someone was killed in it. There is also a huge flesh growth blocking your way to the room where you got the first tarot card from, seemingly as if something is warping your environment as you go on, leading you in the correct direction for some greater purpose. There is also a table in the room that has another floppy disk that you can most likely insert into the computer. Now with the floppy disk acquired, you loop around to the metro platform to get up from the maintenance ladder. But wait. The entire Young photo store has been engulfed by a large mass of pulsing flesh, the same place you got key items from. Remembering that for now, you proceed toward the ladder, go up, and to the computer. You insert the floppy disk. And on the desktop appears another program for you to access. This time, being a database for private medical information on certain residents of Rothfront. There are quite a few entries, but the ones that stand out are Isolde Ito, Erika Ito, and Ariane Young. But the ones that stand out are Isolde Ito, Erika Ito, and Ariane Young. The Erika, that has been mentioned many times by now, as expected seems to be the twin sister of Isolde Ito, whom has been searching for her. Both born on the planet Veneda at 14S52P-C, according to the Rothfront calendar system. Erika's picture is either intentionally redacted or corrupted for some unknown reason. This has also been the case every other time Erika has been mentioned. Erika seems to be surprisingly healthy compared to most of the other citizens, and she is noted to be very active in sporting activities. Ariane's page is quite interesting. First off, her occupation still seems to be a radio officer, even though, most recently she should be a military soldier for the Yuuzhan nation, meaning that this page is older than expected. Another interesting thing is that her birthplace seems to be on Leng, the same exact planet that S-23 Sierpinski, the facility you have traversed many times by now, is located at. Ariane's doctor's notes have also been completely redacted, but I'll explain about that later. If you remember from earlier, you got a key from a medical patient to a room labeled 0512, which can be found on the upper floor. Going up the ladder yet again and unlocking the door, you find yourself in a completely flesh-filled room with some kind of contraption carved into the table. 6 different outlines can be seen on it, each labeled with a planet in the solar system. Flipping the switch on the lamp changes the lighting to ultraviolet and reveals a certain pattern in the contraption. It looks like every outline is connected together. On a cabinet next to the table is a book, Dream Diary. I dreamt I was an imperial farmer. I embraced my lover in the red desert of Kithis when a storm consumed us, the sand grinding us down till nothing remained. 13th night. I was a worker in the mines of Leng when I was consumed by a shapeless sea of flesh, my flesh joining with the flesh of many others, until only my bones remained. My mind joined the collective of flesh, which persists beyond death. 16th night. As a storm raged in the sky, I fell from a ruined skyscraper on Veneda, but I never reached the ocean below. I kept falling, when suddenly, lightning struck the building, and I woke up. 18th night. I was floating in the sunless sea below the ice of Rothfront, when I saw a large creature move in the darkness below me, in the moon's dark core. 19th night. I saw a burning eye in the sky above the clouds of Buyan. I was walking through the floating imperial palace when the gaze of the sun-like iris burned my body to ashes. It's unknown what this currently means, but it will be revealed later. Leaving that for now, You still have the developer fluid and the undeveloped photograph in storage, so you develop the photo. The photograph seems to be some kind of digital dot matrix code. If you remember from before, there was some kind of postal room with a large laser scanner. And so you go forward. You walk through the hallways, open a door, and enter the room. Right after placing the photograph on the scanner, a locker next to it opens, and inside, you get the tarot card, the Sun. Under the tarot card is also a crumpled up and bloody note that says, "I have been found out. I'm sure the white-haired girl working at the photo store in Sector C is bioresonant. Be careful, they don't pay me enough to take any more risks. I am on the next ship to Kithes tomorrow. Meet me at the docks in Sector N if you wanna bail too. Sun." This seems to be a note from the spy, who has already been mentioned many times. The note itself is addressed to seemingly another spy who most likely hasn't been discovered yet, telling them that they could abandon their mission with Sun if they think it's too dangerous. The contents of the note itself talk about a white-haired girl working at a photo store, which is pretty obviously meant to be Ariane. This note confirms that Ariane has been bioresonant before she even took on the Penrose scout ship mission. After leaving the room, you might realize that, yet again, the room where you got the tarot card from gets blocked off by flesh. Going back up, the next place to check is the Ito bookstore. An email from earlier explained that the backyard's door is locked with a pin code, and that it's supposed to be the birth date of the Ito sisters. Going along with the instructions, you check the last 6 digits of their PKZs, which spell out 56054. The door seems to lead to some kind of storage or back room of the store, which has a large amount of books and documents stored inside. But there is one book that almost seems like it's calling to you. Song of the Gods. Possession and distribution of this publication is prohibited and punishable by the 4th Cultural Protection Act. There exists a connection between all of us that few are fully aware of. A song that we all dance to, but few can hear. This deep vibration of the cosmos can not just be heard and felt. We all resonate in harmony with it, shaping it, deforming it around us. Those select few who can consciously perceive it often fear it. Too oppressive is the sound of the stars, too invasive the noise of the unaware around them, polluting the song with their fickle emotions. But every once in a while, some are born that cannot only hear and play this music of the worlds, but who can conduct it. Gifted individuals capable of manipulating the essence of the world around them. Many believe that the Grand Empress is such a being. Her immense will bent humanity into the empire of Yusan and lifted us to the stars. It was her power that imbued life into the first of the machine servants that now carry the weight of the empire on their carbon steel backs. This seems to be a book written by someone from the Empire talking about bioresonance. The Grand Empress, that has already been mentioned and shown several times, also is confirmed to be the person that united humanity together under one government, invented the replica units, and also started the process of conquering space. The stars seem to be a common theme among talks about bioresonance, both with the Empire and the Yusan nation. If you haven't noticed yet, the flag of the Yusan nation has 3 white stars on it in the same pattern that certain bioresonant individuals and replica units do, like the Colibri units. After that, now you proceed to the next room. It seems like Isa gave in and succumbed to the corruption, even after so long of resisting it. Erica wasn't anywhere to be found, and thus she lost her will to live. Right next to the remains of Isa is a bloodied book titled Prometheus. Here sit I, forming mortals after my image, a race resembling me, to suffer, to weep, to enjoy, to be glad, and thee to scorn, as I. This is a direct line from a poem titled Prometheus by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. What this refers to is currently unknown, but you continue exploring the room. Behind the counter seems to be some kind of offering shrine for Isa and Erica. This is immediately very confusing, because you have been seeing Isa several times the entire game, and supposedly she only died just now. It's unsure if the Isa you have been seeing has even been real this entire time. On the other side, there is finally the most visible picture of Erica that has been shown this entire time, although even this one is bloodied and damaged. It's unsure what exactly happened to Erica, but I doubt it's anything good. On the place for offerings, you get the tarot card, Death, which is fitting for this situation. Before leaving the room, there is still one more thing on the counter, a book titled Resonant Phenomena. Synchronicity, phenomena that are meaningfully related, yet lack a causal relationship. We've yet to discover the true source of the ability of the mind to alter the physical world, yet creating physical phenomena remotely simply by consciously or unconsciously willing them into existence forms the basis for the entire field of bioresonance technology. Before the advent of bioresonance technology, causal correlations were often falsely interpreted simply as chance. Many phenomena, such as remote viewing, doppelgangers, or the Pauli effect, have since been classified as synchronistic phenomena related to bioresonant effects. The world we live in would be impossible without bioresonance, but its origins remain unclear. If it was truly a divine gift from outer space, as the late Empress claimed, why was she defeated by our great revolutionary, who had no such divine powers? This book yet again confirms that bioresonance is a very mysterious phenomena that is yet to be fully understood, although there is much more interesting information in this book too. The book mentions that the previously mentioned Grand Empress was defeated by the Great Revolutionary, who is the leader of the Yuuzhan nation. The book also confirms that the Great Revolutionary is not gifted with bioresonance, but still remains the leader of their nation. Now with the death card acquired, you go back to the main lobby, and the entire lobby seems to have corrupted much more compared to before. The light well above the lobby has completely collapsed from the pulsing flesh overtaking the environment. In the middle is a dead Elster unit, and next to it, a metallic dial ring. On the painted wall, one of the parts of the contraption is missing a dial, so you insert it into it. Now with all of the tarot cards, you might remember from before that on the upper floor there was a room with some kind of UV light based contraption with planets, and a peculiar book. The tarot cards may be of use there, so you check it out. The book in the room is the thing that holds the key to solving this specific puzzle. The tarot cards themselves have numbers depicting which major arcanum the card is, and the book also mentions numbers in the nights that the different events were depicted in. The Lovers goes on Kites. Death goes on Leng. Tower goes on Veneda. The Sun goes on Buyan. The Moon goes on Rotfront. And the last one, the Star, goes on Heimat. With all of them placed, the UV light shows patterns on the cards that resemble moon phases, which you have to match with the contraption in the lobby. Doing so will make the hole in the middle open up, which allows you to finally go through. At the end of the hole is yet again a bedroom. More specifically, Ariane's bedroom. The room itself still has power, the radio is transmitting, and yet again the hole closed behind you. The king in yellow is on the table. The last seal has been broken. It's time to go home. The environment has changed. After walking out of Ariane's bedroom, you find yourself in what looks to be an apartment room. Next to the stove is a notebook. Ariane, I left some of yesterday's dinner in the fridge for you. You can warm it up when you get back from school. Please pick up the books your uncle ordered from the Ito bookstore on your way home. Remember to leave some space in your school bag for them this time so they don't get wet. According to this, the apartment you are in seems to be that of Camilla Young, Ariane's aunt, that requested for her to be relocated to Rotfront instead of staying in the radio station with her mother. There are also two other notes, one on a stool and one on the dining table. The one on the stool seems to be a letter from Ariane's mother. My dearest Ariane, I'm so glad to hear you're feeling better again. I was very worried when I heard from your aunt that you're in the hospital again. I still remember how you used to get sick so much as a child. Please don't overexert yourself, okay? The photo you sent me is very interesting. What a strange coincidence that she looks so much like you. You could be twins. Perhaps she's related to us somehow, though I don't know anyone named Seo in our family. From the looks of it, it was shot on Veneta. Your military service will begin soon, so you might be wearing a uniform like her soon enough. Please send me a photo when that happens. Love, Mother. This letter seems to have been sent pretty recently after Ariane was relocated to Rotfront Sector C. The note has Ariane's mother relieved about her health getting better, but there is something much more interesting written on it. Ariane seems to have seen the same picture that was shown to Elster in the Young Photo Store's counter, and sent it to her mother. The other note on the dining table details information about Ariane's submission to join the Penrose program. We have been informed that your compulsory military service period was recently completed. According to our files, you have previously graduated from Mandelbrot Polytechnical High School in Rotfront Sector C on R-34.59C and have recently submitted an application for a military service assignment, Penrose program. You have been processed by Eon Workforce assignment. Previous work experience: store clerk, Young Photo Store, part-time. Compulsory military service, Rotfront Orbital. Long-range radio operations officer training. Should you not be expected by a military service program by the end of the season or find other employment, you will be assigned to the following workplace: S23 Sierpinski Production and Mining Facility on Leng. With the room now cleared, you open up the door ahead and proceed. Past the door is a massive space filled with pulsing flesh with only one large metal platform to walk on. After walking for a bit, the metal platform turns into a similar looking material as the floors and walls in the S23 Sierpinski facility, and it's not long until you begin to discover notes scattered on the floor. All efforts to contain this illness have been in vain. All the Gestalt workers have succumbed to it, leaving only dark shadows on walls and floors where they died. And soon, all of us replica will have lost our senses and turn into writhing masses of flesh. I now believe it was not an infectious disease, nor some form of poison or radiation. It was a slow corruption of reality itself. As I've relived the same cycle over and over, each time details changed. Things are twisted, added, removed. How long until it all turns to nothing but noise? Adler seems to have finally figured it out. There was never any disease, but rather the corruption of reality itself. This note also explains the outlines on walls and floors that look like people. They are dead gestalts. Another note is laying close to it too. A red dream, a crashed ship, a strange gate, a hole in the ground, an island beyond reach, memories from other lives, dreams of suffering and loneliness, a promise, a search for someone lost. I saw her in the red emptiness, waiting for me. We had made a promise. As the memories of a stranger rushed into my mind, I felt the border of myself blur. Now, I can no longer tell where Folke ends and Elster begins. Stop. You must turn back. There is nothing for you here. You've tried so many times and you've failed every time. Don't you see that you're ruining everything? This is your final warning. Adler. It seems that different Elsters have been here before you, which is unsurprising considering the amount of bodies that have been lying around. There is one final note set on a table before the final door. Folke's memory. We were dancing to that song they start the broadcast with. We fell asleep watching that movie we had seen before so many times. If only I could take us back to that time when we were happy. These memories are mine now. The final door, the door to the bedroom chamber of the lead Folke unit. This is the end. Afterward, Folke turns into her corrupted form, wielding several spears through bioresonance and emitting a halo over her head. The environment seemingly forms into its true form, a fleshy solid mass with veins, which the Folke can manipulate with ease. Folke isn't invincible though, since she still takes a normal amount of damage from your weaponry, but to truly deal permanent damage to her, you must use her own spears against her. Every time Folke is damaged by the spear, the environment changes and even more enemies are summoned. The last environment Folke changes to is a blank hazy beige area with only the middle part being lit up, almost like being in the spotlight on a stage. Now, you finally stab her with the final spear. This time, things are different. The hatch opens and you're able to enter the crashed Penrose 512 scout ship. Ariane is waiting. The ship is in massive disarray, with garbage bags thrown around everywhere, blood on the floor, and notes scattered across the ship. Right in the beginning, there's the same decrypted transmission from the Nation that was seen before congratulating the scout vessel for surviving, but further on, in the ruined medical bay, there is another decrypted transmission from the Nation that has a bit of a different tone. Congratulations, comrade. You've survived 3,000 cycles, reaching the final phase of the Penrose program. With the end of the operational lifetime of your replica unit approaching, it is time to prepare for the final phase of your mission. If you have not found a suitable world for landing by this point, accept that you will not. Find solace in the thought that others might be successful where you failed. As you are probably aware, your ship's spare parts and rations will soon be depleted. Life support systems and reactor shielding will soon begin to fail, and radiation may begin to leak from the cooling system. We recommend you do not attempt to prolong your suffering by reusing old filters or begin rationing supplies. Instead, make peace with your fate. We suggest that you ask your replica, while it is still operational, to spare you from a slow and agonizing death, or that you take permanent rest in the cryogenic pod. Remember, you will die having served your nation by partaking in a glorious demonstration of our power. End of decrypted transmission. The Penrose 512 program was never meant to be a successful one, but just as a tool for spreading propaganda against the Empire. The room right after that is the room with the coolant pipes leaking radiation. On the floor is a bundle of notes. Cycle 1294. Had a strange dream. I was listening to the radio with my mother. Like back then, the numbers were on, and mother was taking notes with a book on her lap. It was that book I saw in the shop window of the bookstore where the twins lived. The one with a yellow hooded figure on the cover. When I went there to buy it, it was gone, and Erica said the protectors had confiscated it. Or was it Isa? I can't remember. Cycle 1840. Everything is always the same. I feel like I'm trapped inside this ship. I know every bolt on every panel in every room of it. I've seen everything. I've done everything there is to do in here. I can't concentrate on anything. It's like there's this fog inside my head, and whenever I try to do anything, I just can't focus. I want to go outside. I want to breathe fresh air. I want to feel wind on my face and in my hair. Cycle 2503. I think I lost more hair. I'm sitting here, getting older. Every time I wake up, I feel older, weaker, sicker. I get out of breath so easily lately, and my back hurts when I sit down. How much longer will this go on? It feels like I'm just slowly dying. The next room has more notes written by Ariane. 5009. I'm tired of it all. Every time I go to sleep, I wonder if I'll wake up again. I'm scared that it'll be the last time I said goodnight to her. Did I say it right? Will she be okay? What if one of us just won't wake up tomorrow? Cycle 5400. I don't wanna die. I don't wanna live anymore either. Everything is just so exhausting. I just want to lie down and disappear. Cycle. I just want to sleep. Please just let me sleep. Please just make it stop. Please. It's time. This is all that's left. Go home.